So we now still argue that the minimum wage should be 30,000 naira. So people now, because they have to feed, have devised other means out of pressure of life. When they come and they are offered opportunities, you end up seeing that they cash into it because they have no other options. If the government had opened up factories, how many industries are closed? You find factory floors, you find companies that are being bought and used for church.
Can you imagine?
Textile industries closed and converted into church auditoriums. So that people that lost those jobs, a few years ago, some banks' licenses were withdrawn. Right now, there are some industries that are actually moribund, that are near dead. As we are sitting now, where are the farms? What happened to the river basin authorities in every state that we are discussing agriculture today? What happened? Why did they shut down? Every state had a river basin authority that was sponsored by the government that employed people who were actually farming. And the mass production of food would have given us food security.
Exactly.
And that would bring down the price of food in the marketplace. So how much do you buy onions? December onions was something else.
And tomatoes.
And tomatoes. In fact, there was a time my friends were sharing that if onions is too proud, we'll start using garlic. So as we speak today, the case is on the desk of government to tackle unemployment, to tackle poverty, and to tackle the unavailability of infrastructure, power. People waste diesel to provide light, to produce foods. So at the end of the day, they transport that cost to the marketplace because they need to make their money and pay their own staff. So the pain is on us, me and you. So the government, we are asking to please rise up and listen to these views from Vivid View and consider doing something to change the status quo, to make this place better.
This issue of unemployment have been flogged over and over, not only in Vivid View, but other means, other platforms. Yet it seems our government is not, they're just adamant, they're not just doing anything about it. And here Nigeria is collapsing in our very eyes. That I don't really understand, I don't get it. Well, we'll take a break. We'll continue when we come back. Vivid View.
Say and do it.
Welcome back. Still discussing the rise of kidnapping of students, ripple effects. With me here again in the studio is Mr. Obot. Let's take me to another question. So why is the war of kidnapping seems insurmountable?
Okay, it's not insurmountable.
It seems insurmountable because this has been on. That's why. In fact, I'm just tired of the whole thing myself.
Yes, it would seem that way because it's lasted for too long. But you realize that it continues evolving. We're fighting at Zambiza Forest. We're fighting at Meduguri, Borno town. We're fighting in Potiskum, Yobe State. We're fighting in Adamawa, and we're fighting in those seasons. It now has moved.
Yeah, it's spreading.
Remember the bombings in Abuja and all of that. So what did they do to get it right in Abuja? They should replicate everywhere else. Then the second thing is we should have lessons learned. Why is it that villages are being attacked twice, thrice in a year, the same village, and nobody has put something in place? Also, you don't turn around and check. You realize that the morale and motivation of our own armed forces, is it at its peak? It's not. We're talking about, within the last few months, there was discussion about a review of the police salaries. Why am I discussing it starting from the police? Because insurgency is internal. So it's actually the problem of the police. It's because they have been overwhelmed. That's why we resorted to bringing in the armed forces. The military, as in the army and the navy and the air force. But it is well. When a snake is found, it should be killed. Who kills it does not matter.
Exactly.
So what we are saying here today is that the Nigerian army, you've excelled in Sierra Leone, you excelled in Liberia. now this is your country. It's your turn to deliver your country.
Yes.
So we demand that performance. And as we demand this performance, we do not discount your values and your quality.
No, not at all.
Because you go to courses and you're brilliant people.
They are.
You come out with awards. So whatever it takes, the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff should know that they are the brightest in their group, or else you wouldn't be picked to be the chief of that agency.
And that should be synergy.
So show us that you earned your desk.
Right, how do we now secure a safe atmosphere or environment for learning among school children with all these that have been happening?
Okay, so for us security professionals, most of the time when government sets its rules, people think it's just for fun. In primary economics, you say proximity to raw materials. So how do you go and establish a school in a forest and now pick children from the city to go to the school in the forest?
And no proper...
That was proximity to trees. So before any policeman or any security installation is able to respond to even a phone call, hours have been lost. So can we go back and review?
Because of the distance from the town.
Yes. Who gave approval for the establishment of those schools? And can we now review it again? Some schools need to merge.
Yes.
Some schools need to change where they are sited. Some schools need to shut down even because the resources for them to run is not even available. So at the end of the day, we cannot say we will create a military force that will now be posted to schools. Because as a child, I enjoyed youthful school days. There's something we used to call break bounds. There's something we used to call punishment. There's something, you cross the gate and you buy something and you get back to school and you're still very safe. So we don't want to see students working and reading in an environment that is over-militarized. For instance, where is University of Lagos? It's in the city center. For instance, we used to have University Staff School. University Staff School cannot be outside the university premises. So there needs to be a review. That's number one. The second possibility is that we also need to check and find out. Some of these schools that are being attacked, they are basically public schools though. So can there be a connect? Can there be a nexus? Can the people owning private schools kindly share what they are doing in their schools with the government such that if it can be replicated in order to keep our children safe? Because I cannot see a reason why in the north we are saying they need to be encouraged to go to school. Because enlistment of girl child was at its lowest. So we're encouraging the girl child from the north to attend school. And then all of a sudden the school is risky and the child cannot go there. So we're now allowing an opportunity for the girl child or the children to be kept out of school. So we need to review it again. What needs to be done needs to be done. And then, but it starts with even stopping it. Two things. These people do not just drop from the sky and drop inside the school premises. The villagers in the villages they cross
must have seen them.
Must have seen them, because there is nobody that will tell me that the people living in your village don't know when a stranger enters. Because you know this is Mama Lillian, this is Mama Okpe, this is Mama this. So when you see a fresh person in the marketplace, you want to know who is this one. Yeah. So by the time somebody leaves a village, leaves Medugri and goes towards Yunusari and rides on bike and hillocks for 5 hours, he has crossed some villages on the way. So what stops us from sharing security data with everybody in the country so that even a child outside this country knows how to dial 911.
Exactly.
So that the first person who sees more than 10 bikes moving puts through that call. And if you put through that call and say, I am at Alagomeji, and they were facing Yaba.
So, exactly.
So the military will now go ahead of that on time. So the response time will be shorter, and the damage will be mitigated.
Exactly. And that is one of the reasons why people say that this security of a thing should not be left in the hands of military alone. And I agree, because of this information you just shared now, if we see such, we can share this information on call.
Yes.
And that will also enable them to know what to do at the appropriate time.
Yes,
so
because
everybody should be involved in this
because
now. It has gotten to this, state now.
Within our circles as security professionals,
Yes.
I used to tell people that you are a DPO not for yourself. You are a DPO for us.
Mm-hmm.
So your number is public information. Because if somebody is knocking my neighbor's door, I should call you. I should not wait for that my neighbor to be robbed and then killed, and then they now come over to my door and we wake up in the morning and say they robbed the whole street. Why? What happened to our phones? Because if you're my DPO and I put a call through to you, you know where the street is. Because you are in charge, you have jurisdiction over the area. So you know the nooks and crannies.
This is VVView.